Welcome to Aggie Fly Talk, where we sit down with the officers of the Texas A&M Fly Fishing Club and talk fly fishing, conservation, community outreach, and listen to the stories our guests have to share. We hope you enjoy the show, and please remember to subscribe and donate to the club.
Welcome back to Aggie Fly Talk. I'm your host, Joseph Lopez, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with Sam Vassar, our fundraising chair for the Texas A&M Fly Club. Welcome, Sam.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me on here.
It's good to be back. It's been a while since we've done a podcast. We had our Christmas break. I'm sure you did some fishing over Christmas break and stuff like that. But let's get right into it. We have some things to cover as far as the club goes before we get into an introduction about how you got into fly fishing and Alaska. We got some cool stuff to cover there.
Oh, yeah.
So first things first, have some better weather this year, or this spring, I should say. We got some recent rainfall past couple of weeks, so things are looking up as far as fishing goes around here.
Oh, yeah. White bass are going to be running up into the creeks.
For sure. It's going to be fun. We had our first meeting this Thursday. It went very well. About 10 to 12 people showed up. But let's actually start off with, too, we have new officers this semester. I'm no longer president. I'm the event coordinator. Our new president is Ben Grossclose, if some of y'all are familiar with him. But great fisherman from Rockport, and he's doing great so far. So I can't wait to see what he brings for the club. On top of that, we did get a new TU Costa 5 coordinator. So Libby left her role, and we now have Mr. Cliff Watson, very cool individual. He graduated from CU Boulder, so he was in the fly fishing club there. Very active with TU Costa 5, so I'm stoked to see what plans he has for this semester.
Oh, yeah.
What's next? Trout Fest. Trout Fest is in 2 weeks. We're super excited to be back again, supporting GRTU, supporting everybody there, really. I think it's a good way to network with people and check out exhibitor booths.
Yeah, man, I'm very excited for that. It's going to be my first ever time going to Trout Fest, and I'm stoked.
That's going to be cool, man.
I'm very excited to meet some people.
Yeah.
See that new film that they're coming out with.
Yeah, that's going to be sick. Yeah. And then we have the Texas Fly Fest and Brew Fest. That's in Mesquite, Texas, and that is the 24th through the 25th, so the weekend following Trout Fest. But another great opportunity to network, to meet outfitters, to meet guides, industry professionals, stuff like that. We're actually helping tear down the event too, so helping out Bo Beasley and his staff there.
Yeah, man.
Super stoked. All right, Sam, let's get into, how you got into fly fishing. We'll talk about Alaska right after that. But, what was your first experience fly fishing?
Yeah, so my first experience fly fishing was actually in Telluride, Colorado. We had been up there for a ski trip over spring break, probably, 10 years ago now.
Okay.
And since then, we went out and fly fished with a guide that day. And, man, he taught us how to cast, get a little bit of the basics down. And but the river we were on that day, we caught at least 60 fish total. It was wild. And just after that, it was like an instant. I was on to fly fishing. I was all about it. I ordered myself brand new gear, got just the cheapest stuff Orvis had to offer, and just started practicing fly fishing in my backyard, really.
Yeah. Now, you grew up in Colorado, or?
No, I grew up in Houston, Texas.
Houston, okay.
So not really like a fly fishing hub or anything like that. Like, there's not a big recognition of that kind of community there. Yeah. But in Colorado, I was able to get kind of introduced to that and just super on fire for it. And just started practicing in my backyard, practicing casting into my pool, and just trying to figure it out. I broke off so many flies on the top of my roof. Oh, my Lord, man.
The roof flies now, right?
Roof flies now, definitely, man.
That's cool.
But then I just started progressing from there, started fly fishing in local ponds, some country clubs around my house, and just catching bass. And that really got me into it even more, and then started taking smaller trips, started focusing our trips on fly fishing, and ended up going to England to fly fish for Atlantic salmon.
Yeah.
Went up to Alaska probably 5 or 6 years in a row. Just
That's awesome.
really enjoying it, catching
Yeah.
salmon, all the above. And that's what really sparked me going forward into becoming a fly fishing guide up in Alaska.
That's awesome. Yeah, so I want to touch on something. I know people, that's for speaking like our officers, a lot of their dads, either taught them or was in the process of when they were learning. How was it for you? Were you fly fishing by yourself? Did your dad tag along with you?
He would tag along with me.
Okay.
He wasn't really super into it as much as I was, but after that trip in Telluride, I was really fired up for it, but my passion really sparked his passion for it too.
Mm-hmm.
So he was never really involved in fly fishing. He did a lot of fishing back in the day and grew my passion for just fishing in general with conventional gear, but he never was into fly fishing much, but really sparked that. We used to fish out in Pine Cove Family Camp. We'd go to family camp there every summer for a week, and we'd go out in the morning some mornings and take the little paddle boat out and try and fish. And out there, I actually landed my PB bass. I caught a 13-pounder out there.
That's how it happens, unexpectedly.
Yeah, very unexpectedly.
Well, cool, man. Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure you can attest to this. Both of the different types of fishing are so cool, right? You have trout fishing and you have bass fishing. They all have their unique, I guess, characteristics on how you fish for them, what you use to fish for them. So you encompass all of fly fishing when you go from warm water to cold water, and even salt sometimes. Yeah, and
flowing water to still water.
Yeah.
It's just so much different. And I gotta say, bass fishing with the popper, that's where it's at, y'all.
It's at, yeah.
That's you can't beat it.
Yeah,
big topwater blow-ups, man.
That's something that I miss, man. I hope we can get back on that this summer.
Definitely.
Alaska, man. Let's touch on that. So, you go up there, and what happened after that? You go on a trip up there and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I've been going up to Alaska, like I said, for probably 6 or 7 summers in a row.
Okay.
And I really learned, it's not super complicated on what kind of gear you're using and how you target the fish. But I learned all that over those years. And we actually went up, one of our trips was to stay at a lodge. My dad, he was wanting to kind of stay in a singular location that on that trip. Wasn't wanting to move around, do a camping trip. We did a fly out rafting trip where we camped out in the wilderness for 3 days, but that's hard to do.
It is,
especially upper or middle 60s. But
getting older,
yeah. But we went to this lodge, Alaska Trophy Adventures Lodge, where I work at now, and we went up as a client just to go fishing for the week, and I really enjoyed it. We were guided by the head guide, Patrick McIntyre, and he really sparked my passion for that river specifically. And I talked with him about possibly coming up there the next summer as a camp staff, just to clean dishes, just to be in Alaska for the summer and getting paid to do that.
Yeah,
it'd just be ideal. But from there, I talked with the owner, and he said, "Hey, hit me up over winter break, this winter break, and I'll see if I have any positions available for you." So around June, I sent him a text on or an email on July 1st, January 1st, the first of the year. And I was like, "Hey, reaching out, just going to see if y'all have any positions available." And he said, "No, we don't have any camp staff positions available, but we do need some extra guides to come out and help when we're really busy during the summer." So I was like, "Yeah, man, that's definitely what I'd rather do, become a guide."
Wow.
And he said, "Now, to become a guide up there, you're going to have to get your captain's license, which allows you to take people out on a boat out there, because we're driving jet boats up and down the river to get to our spots that we're trying to fish at."
Now, for those that don't know, ATA is on the Alagnak.
The Alagnak River. It's in western Alaska, in the Bristol Bay area. It's actually located within Katmai National Park.
Okay.
Yeah. And so he basically said, you got to get your captain's license. And there's this course up in Alaska that they teach that will give you a captain's license that restricts you to certain rivers in western Alaska. So I was like, yeah, man, I'll fly up there. So I bought myself a plane ticket, flew up to Alaska, took that course, passed it, of course, and the rest is history, man. He said, yeah, we'll hire you, and we can't wait to see you. And went up there for the like setup of the camp, where they have to, at the end of the season, they winterize the entire camp. They put up bare boards, board up the windows, everything for the harsh winter.
Yeah.
So we went up there to take all that down, set the camp up, get it ready for clients to come out and fish with us. And for that first month I was there, I worked straight for a full month, and I was grinding away, learning the trade, learning how to drive a jet boat out up there on a moving river, fast flowing river.
Right.
And after about a month of doing that and working in the kitchen, they brought me up to the guide level, and I started taking people out for a week, and
that's awesome.
It was amazing. It's one of the best experiences I've ever had.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be a pretty big wake up call too. I mean, just dropping everything, going to Alaska to be a guide. Now, like, one question I ask is like, how did you prepare? You know what I mean? It's like, was that your first guiding experience?
That was my first
as far as foreign water goes?
Yeah, man. So to prepare, really, I just got my gear together. I found some flies that I needed to have, and I called a couple of the guides that had worked up there in the past summers just to kind of like see what to expect, really.
Right.
And they were telling me, you know, you're going to be working hard, and if you get to the position where they are comfortable with you taking people out or comfortable with you driving the boat, that's really the biggest like requirement, is to be able to drive that jet boat and have those clients feel comfortable while
safe.
You're driving the jet boat and feel safe with you captaining them. So they gave me a couple trial runs while I was working in the kitchen. Like one of the guides was busy one day trying to bring in we were bringing in lumber to build a new lodge because the previous one had burned down the year back. Actually, the week I was there, it burnt down. So we were rebuilding this lodge, and we were bringing in lumber from Naknek, which is about 30 miles or so away from where we are on the river. And we have this big, massive jet boat that can haul ton of like weight and ton of lumber. And he was having to go down to Naknek to pick that up, and they said, hey, will you take his clients out for the day? And I said, yeah, I definitely will. And we had a great day. We caught a couple fish, you know. It wasn't a stellar day by any means, but just the conversations we had, the guys were like, yeah, we really like Sam. Like, he did a great job out there. We felt safe. And that's when they were kind of like, okay, he can do this, you know. And I felt that way as well. I felt, okay, I can do this, you know.
Gave you some confidence.
Yeah.
That's sick, man. Yeah, I mean, and also too, like I'm sure the first time you went up there with your dad on that trip, or even just to go visit, you noticed the fishing, right? It's spectacular. Like, I mean, as far as you being up there, you know, a couple of years now, what are like some of the stuff that you just didn't expect to see as far as like the fishing up there? Maybe like patterns, as far as like, you know, different species. What was new to you, and what didn't you expect? Yeah,
man. So the grayling for me really stood out. They're one of the most beautiful fish there are. They call them the sailfish in the north. Arctic sailfish.
Oh yeah.
Because they have a really big, beautiful blue fin on their back on their
that dorsal.
The dorsal, yeah, man. And the thing that really surprised me about those is they'll take a dry flight anytime, like any time of the day, rain or shine. Like, genuinely, they will take a dry fly anytime. I've caught them in the pouring rain, throwing a dry fly, a big stimulator over the top of these holes, and they'll just come up and blow all the way up out of the water to get these flies. And man, that was one of the best fishing experiences I've ever had, man. Like, if you're having a bad day out on the water, go to a grayling hole. You'll have a good day. And we get massive grayling out there too. Like, a trophy grayling is about 18 inches, and we're constantly catching 18 plus inch grayling. It's one of the best fisheries for grayling in all of Alaska. It's a lot to do with the water, like clarity and quality. Grayling require the purest, cleanest water in the world, and this is some of the purest and cleanest water in the world.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean, you get all the salmon there too, the trout, and then just grayling to top it off.
Yeah, man.
Talk about the trout, man.
Trout, oh, dude. So beginning of the season is best trout fishing. So like June opener, it opens in June 8th, I believe the river, just June 8th or 9th. And that first week that you're there is some of the best trout fishing you will ever have anywhere in the world. Size, numbers, everything you get there. So most of the fishing that we're doing then, we're throwing big, meaty streamers. So articulated, we can't run double hooks, so we clip the front hook. But big articulated streamers, black and white, white and olive, any of those kind of colors really work well. And you'll just go down to a hole. We typically fish below us, which is very different from most fishing, traditional fly fishing, where you're working upstream on a river. We work down. Right.
A lot of what you're doing is swinging stuff.
Yes, exactly. So we're swinging big flies, and you'll go into a hole, and really, first cast you take there, if there's a fish in that hole, it's going to eat that fly. They really don't see a lot of presentations, so everything that they see, they're just going to
It's hard to resist.
Just go after it, man.
Yeah. That's sick, man. That is really cool.
Yeah. And the salmon fishing, that when the sockeyes start to run, they start running in like late June, early July, and run kind of until right around the end of July. And once those kind of push into our river, the trout get a little displaced and spread out. So it's a little bit harder to find them, but we're still catching 25, 26-inch fish, 2-footers plus, which is just unbelievable for trout fishing. Like our average is probably 22 inches, which is a trophy fish in the lower 48.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah, but once those salmon start pushing in, then we're really just targeting them for most of the day. We'll target them for that morning. We'll catch our limit. I'll be there, fillet them for about an hour. Sometimes doesn't take that long, but we'll be filleting them and then bag them up, and then we'll go and try and find some trout at the end of the day. And typically we can find some pretty nice fish. Yeah,
that's awesome.
And then later in the season is when the different species of salmon start coming in. You get your pinks on even years and silvers towards early August, late July, as well as chums. Yeah, man. But I'd have to say that my favorite fighting fish is silvers or kings.
Kings, dude.
Yeah, man. We get kings right at the beginning of the year. They start pushing up before the sockeye and everything, but it just takes them a while to get to where we are on the river. We're at mile 52 on the Alagnac, so we're about 52 miles from the coast. Which it means it takes them about 2 or 3 weeks to get up to where we are. And once they're around where we are, they're already starting to get a little blushed because they've been into the fresh water for a while.
Just a little bit.
Already starting to turn color just a little bit. But we get about 2 or 3 weeks to target those fish and before the season closes for them.
Are there spots, holes rather, where species are overlapping? You have some where you have a few different salmon or some of the same salmon.
Yeah, man.
Maybe rainbows mixed in there too.
Definitely. So later in the season when the sockeye have kind of already moved through the river system, gotten into the lakes that they're going to, you start seeing these chums, pinks, and silvers holding up in the same holes. And what you also find if you go on a fly-out trip up towards Battle Creek, these creeks that are up above the lakes that feed our river. That's where the trout are all pushing up to. That's where they kind of get displaced to. They follow those sockeye up to where their spawning grounds are and just wait for them to drop their eggs. And once those eggs start dropping, then the bead bite is just on. Crazy. You'll see just a sea of red in these rivers. There's just thick of sockeye, and then you'll see a little brown, or little gray bullet behind them, and that's a huge trout just waiting for those eggs to drop. You'll just throw a rig right over the top of these salmon, and just wait for it to hit that trout, and boom, you're on, man.
Wow, man.
Yeah. But
Speaking, speaking of abundance first of all, that's awesome, man. That's cool that you've gotten to experience that at such a young age too.
Yeah,
I mean,
man.
not a lot of people get to go up to Alaska and guide at what, 23,
Yes,
24.
sir.
I mean,
Yeah, man.
like it's crazy. But encompassing all of the fish species and fish diversity there, it's let's talk about bears, man.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about bears up there. So I'm sure that was a wake-up call for you, too, when you first went up.
That was one of the biggest, hurdles to get over was interacting with bears, because where we are in Alaska is the beariest spot in the world.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's correct, but
Beariest.
But we probably have a couple hundred bears just in our couple square mile stretch.
Kind of scary.
Yeah, man. And they're really only looking for salmon, though.
Right, for food, yeah.
Once the salmon hit the water, you really don't see many bears at the beginning of the season. It really, once those salmon start hitting the river,
they
something
know
about it. The bears know, and then they start showing up, and you'll just see probably 20 to 30 different bears every single day, just working their way up and down the river looking for salmon. You'll see them jumping into the water. You get so many spectacular shots. There's people that come out there just to photograph bears.
Yeah, I was about to say, didn't you tell me that's like a hot spot?
Yeah, man. So that's like the spot to go if you're trying to catch a video or a picture of a bear jumping into the water or fishing or just doing its bear thing.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, I've seen some cool shots of you showed me of bears jumping full on in the water or have a salmon in their mouth hanging out.
Yeah, and the craziest thing happened to me last year. I actually saw a grizzly bear take down a fully grown moose in
crazy.
the river. That was one of the wildest moments of my life. I was actually guiding my dad that week.
Yeah.
And we were out there. We were downriver about, I'd say, 20 miles or so. And we were just finishing up fishing this area, and my dad was down there fishing, throwing a streamer for some salmon, throwing a big articulated pink and white streamer with some flash on it. And after a couple minutes, he's like, "All right, I'm gonna sit down and take a rest. You take a couple casts." And I'm being for real. The very first cast I took after he had given me the rod, I feel a whoom. And then a whoom, 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 whoom. My rod just starts bending and going crazy. And I'm like, Dad, get the net. This is the fish. This is the one. And sure enough, it was a king salmon. And I fought him for about 5-10 minutes or so. Probably was longer than that.
Yeah.
And just trying to get it into the net. And my dad's trying to scoop it up. He's not a guide, so he's going right from the tail, scooping under him. But eventually we got that fish landed, and it was about a 25-pound king salmon.
I'm guessing you're PB, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
my personal best on a fly rod, too.
Yeah.
It was one of the craziest things that ever happened to me, because he had just fished the entire hole, and it took me one cast to find that fish.
Wow.
And I look at him, I'm like, well, I don't see how this day gets any better whatsoever, And he says the exact same thing. He's like, yeah, let's pack it up and head on home, And it was about 3:00 at this point, so we still had a good 2 hours of our day left. So if we wanted to stay downriver, we could have and kept fishing.
Right.
But we decided, you know what, we'll call it early and head on up. And on our way up to the lodge, about a mile away from the lodge, I see this moose just standing in the river, just standing there. And I was like, what the heck is going on with that? And I kind of look downstream of him, and I see this bear kind of sneaking up through the grass and through the bushes of this island right behind this bear. And I was like, man, Dad, something crazy is about to happen right now. Yeah. And so I pull out my phone and I start recording this, and sure enough, this bear stalks up to the moose, chases him, and then actually catches the moose on the river or on the island right next to him and takes it down. And we saw the entire interaction. I was able to catch it on camera as well.
Yeah, dude, this thing was, I mean, for those that don't know, this thing was picked up by like Nature versus Metal.
Oh, yeah.
Like this thing was huge, like
outdoor life.
Yeah, I mean, just also like grueling videos of animals taking down other animals.
It's wild. So, I don't think there's any other footage in the world like that. Seeing the full catch and like stalking, catching, take down, and killing of a moose in a river by a bear.
Bear.
It's only things you hear about in stories.
I mean, and dude, there's no other way that you could have gotten closer too. Like
No.
you were right in the river. I mean, you couldn't have been on land. I'm sure
Yeah.
it would have been probably too dangerous.
Yeah,
but
I
like,
wouldn't have been able to see it either, because this
Yeah.
bear catches the moose and floats about a mile downriver with the moose. You know,
Jeez,
he was trying to, once he had killed it, he tried to pull it onto the bank and was trying to fight the current and trying to get it up to a place that he could actually eat it at.
Jeez,
but he couldn't find that spot, so he tried for about 30 minutes just to pull it onto the bank, but ended up giving up and just kind of let go of it and rode down the current with it into a small little side eddy that he was able to pull it up into and finally start eating on it.
Dude, you know, just getting a little off topic, just like we get our food quick, right? Us humans, man, we're able to just get food like that nowadays.
Go to the supermarket.
Yeah. But dude, this
anything
bear,
you
I
want.
mean, 30 minutes to just get it up on shore,
Yeah.
like not even start eating it. I
Yeah.
mean, it's really detrimenting the bear at that point, trying to get this elk, especially getting in that fast moving water, that current, and pulling them back out. It's just, what a sight, dude.
And that bear, he had probably about an hour to get his first little bites in on that meal, and then he was chased away by some bigger bears that were able to smell it. Bears can smell for miles away, and these bears they smelled it, and they ended up scaring him off of the kill. And the biggest bear of our area was probably about 1,000-pound bear. Was just sitting on that carcass for the next day and a half. But they had it picked to the bone in 3 days.
Wow.
It was gone in 3 days,
crazy,
completely.
Man. It's cool that you get to experience that. I mean, not only just the fishing, but like everything, the whole ecosystem,
man, the
right?
wildlife up there is insane.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So like, yeah, just what an experience to be fishing, catching a huge king, and then like a sight that like no one may never see
ever see again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just taking down that moose. That's
really a once in a lifetime thing to see.
Yeah, that's cool, man. So yeah, ATA, man, that's a really cool place. You know, I've talked to you about, you know, prospectively working there, hopefully.
Man.
So I'm super excited to hopefully join you on that journey of maybe seeing a bear at least, of course.
You're gonna see a bear, I can assure you that.
Yeah, very cool, man. That's something I look forward to. I haven't seen a bear. I mean, it's probably not that close ever.
Oh, and you'll see them close.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had some interactions where they're closer than 5 feet, 10 feet from me.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how many, let's talk about the lodge for a little bit. You know, ATA, it's a big lodge. How many people work there? You know, what's the experience like?
Yeah, I'd say there's about 20 or so staff members on hand every summer.
Okay.
Just about that. There's about 12 or so guides that we have, and about 8 to 10 camp staff / operations managers up there. Yeah. Okay. And the community up there, we're all buddies. It's all we're working towards the same goal.
Right.
And we're all trying to make the best experience for the people that come up there and stay with us. We're really trying to make that their best experience in Alaska and something that they can go home and tell their friends and family about and say how great of a time they had at ATA Lodge and how welcome they felt, how it's a home away from home.
Yeah.
You know, I consider those people my family now.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And I'm sure, I mean, when people get up there, just already astonished at like where they're at, right?
Yeah, man.
The scenic.
Most people that come up there are just like, wow, I'm just so happy to be here. You know, just to be here and experience what Alaska has to offer.
I mean, yeah, because first you drive in or fly into Anchorage, and you're flying out to this remote.
Man. So you got to fly to Anchorage, then you got to fly to King Salmon, and then you got to get on an even smaller little bush plane to fly out to our lodge, because we're about 20 miles from the nearest civilization, nearest town.
Yeah.
So
and
you have to get you have to get to the lodge with a plane. You can't drive there. It's all tundra and wilderness in between us and King Salmon.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, man.
What an experience that I hope to, you know, hopefully be up there soon with you and experience.
I'm excited for that. You're gonna have a great time, man.
Yeah, I'm excited, dude. That's cool. All right, yeah, Alaska, dude. What an experience. We'll probably definitely touch back on that in future podcasts for sure. But Let's talk about back home for a little bit. Fly fishing back here after our recent rain. We touched on white bass a little bit in the beginning.
Yeah, man.
But
favorite time of the year.
Yeah. It's time to get those stringers ready.
Yes, sir.
It was tough last year out here near Somerville. We didn't have much water.
No,
right?
we didn't get any rain during the spring winter time last year. So most of these fish just kind of went up into the mouths of these creeks where they typically would run all the way up to the shallows of it to spawn, but they ended up spawning right below these creeks and really never made their way into them. So we couldn't target them as well.
Exactly.
But this year, man, we've gotten a ton of rain in the past couple weeks, which I really think is going to start pushing the fish up, and they have in certain creeks around Somerville.
Oh yeah, and it's weird. We've within that week we kind of got all that rainfall. We had the males up in there and the females push up in there and seeing spawning activity. That was all within that kind of like week we got rain. It just happened so fast.
Yeah, so fast, man.
So,
and not early, but earlier than years past.
Yeah. I also think, that cold spell we got, I think the temperature really played a big role in spawning.
And that cold spell and then warming up quickly after that. I definitely think that helped with the fish moving up into our creeks.
Yeah, we went out to Nels last week and had a pretty good time.
Yeah,
so that was cool. Water's still kind of dirty, but yeah, it's like also too like with Yewa, I've noticed that a lot of the fish are a bit bigger in Yewa Creek than in Nels.
Yeah,
which I think a lot of the fish are starting to move around a bit. They're starting to get more comfortable with the creeks now that they have water and they're coming down a little bit. But yeah, I mean, when we were out there last week, we saw a bunch of spawning activity. So
right on the banks.
On the banks, and people.
Even in the flowing water, man.
Yeah.
They were spawning in the moving current.
Yeah.
Which is wild. We were trying to target them, but they weren't interested in it at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And already seeing the crowds start to get out. So it's cool to see everybody, a lot of people have been waiting for this around this area. You know?
Yeah.
Last year was just kind of like a hit and miss. And then this year, I feel like a lot of people are going to, start making their way out here. A lot of people come from Austin and Houston just to target these fish.
And people are wanting to get on them because they didn't get any last year. It's one of the best tasting fish too, in my opinion.
How do you cook it?
How do I cook it? I've cooked it a couple different ways actually. My favorite though is just to kind of pan sear it in butter.
Okay.
I'll hit it with this Greek seasoning. I can't remember the name off the top of my head.
Some Greek seasoning. Okay.
Yeah, man. And
Mrs. Dash, by chance?
It's not that one. I want to say I don't know. It's a yellow and white bottle.
Okay. It's probably Mrs. Dash, man.
It could be. But that's one of my favorite ways. Or just bread it up with some flour and throw some salt and pepper on it and a little bit of Cajun seasoning and pan fry it in some butter.
I know some guys who've actually got the fork and pulled the meat off of the bones and have done a little jambalaya with it almost. Put through sausage, through the white bass and then some rice and it looked really good. Yeah. So
and I have heard a recipe. I was talking with an Asian lady on the river, and she was telling me about some recipes that she uses to cook for them. And she's telling me that if you get some oil and just really heat it up super hot and just pour it onto the skin of the fish after you descale them, it crisps up the skin really nice, cooks the meat, and it's one of the most delicious ways to have them.
Yeah, man. That's definitely probably something I'll have to try because that sounds unique but really good. I like the skin on it. So
One of the tastiest fish, and man, the bones, they just melt away.
They're small. They're very small.
So you really don't have to worry about any of the bones other than the rib bones. Getting those out.
Yeah. Let's talk about how we were fishing for these white bass. It's smaller creek fishing. It's a lot different than fishing for white bass in a lake, right? You find a school of them, you're casting to them, and you track them on a little sonar. But when you walk up to these creeks, for someone that's maybe hasn't fly fished for white bass or fly fished creeks at all, what should they be looking for when they go out and trying to target these white bass?
What I like to look for when I'm targeting white bass is moving water that slows down into a deep pool. So it could be anything from a log jam to the bend of a river, just any kind of deep water that they could be holding in right into some current. because they kind of like to be in a bit of current while they're moving up the river, and they'll typically spawn in that slower moving water that's still got a little bit of flow. But I really just like to throw in some kind of white clouser, streamer, really anything white with a little bit of flash on it, and that's lights out every single day.
Yeah.
They'll go after it.
Yeah. And something we've noticed too is that they're a little deeper, maybe like longer leader, a few split shots above your fly or something to get it down.
I wouldn't use sinking line. I'd still use floating line, but definitely something that gets you down a little bit deeper. You really got to watch out for snags and like just trees underwater or anything. Most days that I'm out white bass fishing, I'm going to be losing 2 or 3 flies at the minimum.
Yeah, those guys like to just, in this current, there's these down trees and these down, branches that they just like to sit in and then just come out. And eat. So, that's something that if you do plan on going out, make sure you have a handful of clousers. Oh yeah, handful of backups that you can. You
can't just do it with one fly.
Yeah.
I've had very rare days where I don't lose a fly.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of the clousers we use are just simple dumbbell bead eyes, something a little bit heavier. I know they make like some lead dumbbell eyes. I've seen those which are really good. And just your regular hook. Size 6, size 8, and some bucktail and some flashing. That's all it takes.
That's really all it takes.
There's a cool fly that Jamo, one of the fishermen that actually taught me everything there is to know about white bass fishing Somerville and that area, has this fly he calls the magical clouser, and it imitates, like I kid you not, imitates the small shiners that are, or small minnows that are in the creeks in Somerville, and to the line, the everything, man. Wow. It's really cool. It's like a little gray and white clouser with a little bit of blue flashing, but super cool fly. And I witnessed this guy just like throw this fly out there and pull in every single cast, man. And it's just like, geez, yeah. So gray and white may be the key if you're looking for the right color or whatever. So take that into account. But cool, we plan to get out sometime this weekend. Of course, for the next couple of weeks, we're going to be focusing on white bass and tracking them and seeing where they're moving to, so we can get out. I think we have a club outing sometime soon as well, so we can get out and
looking forward to that. It's a great place to learn how to fly fish.
Yeah, and it's not just
to be able to hone your perfection or hone your craft and be able to deal with certain situations, because a lot of the times you're casting in some pretty brushy areas. You don't have much of a backcast area, so that's
exactly what I was going to say. Is it's a little bit difficult to learn, and
that is true. Yeah.
But if you can do that, that can carry over to a lot of stuff: bass fishing, trout fishing. So
when I say like easy to fish or a great place to learn, it's just numbers of fish. You're gonna catch fish when you go out there. Right. It might not be the easiest to cast in or easiest to actually get it to them, but when you do find that spot to get it to them, it's amazing, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it's a great place to learn and practice your roll cast, since there is that kind of cover behind you, and just being able to get the specifics of fly fishing down.
Yeah. And a lot of people are turned off because of like the clarity, right? The muddy water. But what we notice is like a lot of them are sitting deeper. I don't think a lot of them are seeing very well. Once this clears up though, it's on. It's like very on. So
and I for one never knew Texas had clear water creeks or clear water just anywhere. Yeah. And certain times of the year, once the water has gone down, the rains have kind of stopped a little bit, and the bass are still in there, but the water really clears up, and you can see down to the bottom, basically. Just it amazed me the last year being able to see that and see the diversity of Texas and seeing all of what Texas has to offer, as well as when we were on the Colorado River, man. That was too cool.
Yeah, man. How was it? I totally forgot to bring that up, but how was it catching your first Guadalupe bass?
Dude, when we were going on that trip, I was gonna be happy if I caught one. I wasn't really expecting to catch more than one or two, and we caught probably 30.
Yeah, dude, that was what a day!
Amazing day. One of the best days of fishing I've ever had.
Yeah, I mean,
genuinely.
That goes for anyone. It's like you guys want to get on a Guadalupe bass, man, the lower Colorado is the place to do it.
That is
now.
the place to do it.
It fluctuates, checking water levels and checking the weather is important, but the way that we were fishing for these quads, man, it's so fun. It's you're fishing moving water.
Yeah.
So
it really reminded me of fishing in Alaska.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the reasons I loved it so much, is because we were actually swinging flies for them and fishing moving water, which you don't get a lot in Texas. At least I've never done a lot in Texas. I've mostly fished still water here, but just doing that one day, I'm ready to go back out.
yeah, man. And it's crazy, man. These quads are gorgeous.
Yeah.
They may not be all of 10 or 12 inches, but the smaller ones and the way they're colored up is awesome. And just to think that's our fish. That's Texas's
That
fish.
is our native fish,
So,
our state fish.
Yeah. So I'm hoping to get on a few projects where we can do something to work towards the conservation protection of them. So maybe partner with Parks and Wildlife or our local chapter or something like that. We'll see. But yeah, cool plans for that. All right, man. Yeah, your position as far as you're an officer now. You're our fundraising chair. I kind of like to ask you of what plans do you have as far as fundraising goes for this semester, and what do you hope to see out of the club and the club members?
Yeah. So as far as fundraising goes, I'd like to do some fundraising while we're at these shows, such as the Fly Fishing Festival and New Braunfels and the one up in Mesquite. I'd like to set up some kind of raffle system. We spoke about this a little while ago, but I was thinking a couple of the members of our club would actually tie up some flies, and we'd make a collection of a fly box that features our favorite flies that we like to use in Texas or wherever for certain fish, and auction that off while we're at the Trout Fest and Fly Fishing Festival.
That's a good idea, man. I think it somebody getting a box with a variety of flies hand tied by some of our officers and members would be cool.
People would love that.
Yeah.
And I'm also trying to get some things set up for giveaways or like just extra raffles, just to earn the club a little bit of extra money to be able to purchase the things that we need for our members.
Yeah. And we have a great program that will help us out with that, man. We can definitely get some fundraising going. Something that I wanted to touch on too about fundraising is that we may have this cool opportunity to show an F3T film, which is a fly fishing film tour film, and so that's in the works. We're trying to get that together with Trout Unlimited, Costa 5, but if we can pull that off, that'd be really cool.
That would be great for the club.
It'd be a great fun
for the community as well.
And so like I said, I believe that you really can't watch these films other than by purchasing them or by going to one of the showings that's near you. So what a cool experience if we can do that, and it'd be a good opportunity to fundraise too. So
man.
We're looking at maybe even hosting that at the Plaza Theater in Bryan. Kind of make it cool aesthetic type of scene. Maybe have like a panel discussion by one of the guys. That does the film. So we'll kind of talk about more logistics on that when it plays out, when it gets closer, but that's hopefully something that we plan on doing soon. Man, I want to touch on too, we're still partnered with Science on the Fly, which is they're an organization that is basically promoting clean water for local creeks and local rivers. A few places here in Texas are partnered with. I know Living Waters is one of them. There's a few other places, but I think that's something we should definitely keep doing. It promotes clean water. We do testing every month just to see what's in our waterways or if we got some bad stuff. While doing this last year, we had a spill that killed a lot of fish in one of our creeks here, Carter's Creek. And so we were able to see that. And just because we were getting on the creeks, we were able to notice that and bring it up to some officials and say, hey, what's kind of going on here? There's a bunch of dead fish here. And there was a spill that was located upstream that kind of, it had closed off, but that little spill killed a lot of the population of sunfish and little bass that were in the creek we fished. So, just if we weren't doing that, I feel like we wouldn't have noticed it. But now that
because
we've
we're
gone
out there, we're in the field,
we're seeing it. Yeah,
we see it firsthand. We're the ones that it affects too.
Exactly. Yeah.
Other than the fish that are dying
Rip.
off. Yeah. R.I.P.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's something I want to continue to do. It's definitely a job, but I feel like we have some dedicated members and dedicated officers that can take that role, and I think Brian's up for doing some stuff like that. So we'll get to talking about.
Excited to see what he has in the future.
Yeah, that'd be cool. So, another thing with before we kind of close up here, about to reach an hour or so, but industry recognition. I put this on here as one of our topics because in our TU Costa 5 meeting we had the other day, that's kind of the things that our new coordinator is wanting to bring up and promote in our clubs around the U.S. is a lot of kids, a lot of college students are wondering, what can I do to be in the industry? Is this even possible for this to happen? And I think by bringing in this kind of gateway of speakers, of industry professionals talking about their experience getting into the industry, it will encourage and help us to kind of say, I can do it this way, or
I can do it myself.
Exactly. So I think with bringing that into TU Costa 5 and hopefully our club personally, we can hopefully motivate some people. Because I'm sure there's got to be some other people out there like us that are very excited and stuff like that. Yeah. So. All right. Sorry, we got cut off for a bit, but so I'm excited for that industry presence to be there. Hopefully some guest speakers, and the festivals kind of do that in themselves, right? We meet with a lot of guides, a lot of people from the industry at these festivals, and get to talk to them either one-on-one or visit a panel discussion that they bring up. So really cool. Like I know this year at Trout Fest we're going to be seeing Landon Mayer, Pat Dorsey, owns Blue Coat Angler in Evergreen, Colorado. I mean, writer, just amazing fisherman, author, just crazy cool guy. I know Tom might be making it back. Tom Rosenbauer from Orvis, he may be making it back to the Fly Fest. And
Tom, man.
I
remember those days when I was learning to fly fish. Those were the videos I watched.
It was so surreal because I met Tom last year at the Fly Fish and Brew Fest. And it was weird because you kind of look up to I kind of look up to these guys as idols, right? And it's just like, wow, you're really cool. And when you get to meeting with these professionals in the industry, it's almost just like hey, what's up, man? And you're just kind of like a friend to them.
They're real people.
And that was kind of like meeting Tom. We one of the first questions he asked me is like, where do y'all fish in Texas? And it's like it was kind of funny because it's just like. We have a lot of places to fish, and it was just explaining it to him, something he's probably, never heard of. And it's really cool just to talk to them and get to know them. So,
and I've, through ATA Lodge and through working up there, I was able to meet a couple people within the industry. Bob White, he's a big artist and painter of wildlife, really anything outdoorsy. And he was featured he used to paint for the cover of I believe it was Outdoor Life or Field and Stream.
Whoa, wow.
As well as John Gehrig, fly fishing writer. Both of those guys, very down to earth people, and you just see that within the industry, we're just normal people. We're just trying to make a living within that industry and meet other people.
And it's cool that a lot of what keeps us in this fly fishing community is passion. Like it's nothing but passion that I hear from these guys. Chris Johnson, Landon Mayer, Tom himself. There's true passion in people about what they love to do.
And they love doing it.
Yeah, they love doing it. So it's not work to them at this point.
No, not at all.
But yeah, man, I'm glad you came on today. It was great talking with you. I know we have some really cool plans for this upcoming year. I'm really hoping to be joining you up this summer in Alaska, and we can make some really cool films. We can make some really cool, get some really cool photos, and just have an experience, have a summer. So.
It's an experience, man.
Yeah, I'm excited. Sure. Yeah, well, we're going to close it up here. Thanks for tuning in, guys, to another episode. But you guys know where to find us. We're on Instagram. If you haven't been to one of our meetings, they're every other Thursday right now in WFES, Wildlife Fisheries building, room 411. So come stop by, say what's up, and let's talk fly fishing. But in the meantime, thanks Sam for coming on.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we'll catch you next
awesome.
time. Yeah, thanks for listening, guys. Y'all have a good one.